Hey guys, Ricky here from WatchMojo, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 things you need to know about The Division 2.
And there will be consequences.
Let's go, come on.
Examples will be made.
On your knees. Keep still.
From new game modes and features to storylines and additional content, we'll be taking a look at the most buzzworthy news from Ubisoft's second entry in the Division series, which is set to release on March 15th. Now, onto the list. Number 10. New setting. The Division took place on the cold, wintry streets of New York City after the dollar flu quarantined Manhattan. But for the second game, we're heading to the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., roughly 7 months later.
You should have a new side mission on the map.
Yeah, we're not that far.
Okay, do it after the crash site?
What's more, the new map of Washington, D.C. is apparently 20% bigger than the first game's map, and it was created to be a nearly one-to-one recreation of the actual city for players to explore. Seeing as we're heading to Washington, D.C., expect to see a lot more variation in the Division 2's biomes. For example, green spaces, watered areas, city streets, and sleepy suburbs, as opposed to just the cold streets of New York City.
Oh, Merry Christmas.
Number 9. PC version won't be on Steam.
This higher utilization of the GPU results in better frame rates for all PC gamers out there.
Shortly before the game's launch, Epic announced that The Division 2 would be coming to Epic's new gaming marketplace and not Steam. This doesn't mean that it will be exclusive to the Epic Store, it just means that Steam is getting shafted. Ubisoft has said that it respects Epic's initiatives and wants to support its new marketplace. Ubisoft hasn't officially stated why they are skipping Steam, only saying that, quote, "We have no plans currently on releasing Tom Clancy's The Division 2 on Steam," end quote. With partial exclusivity deals like this beginning to pop up, some PC gamers fear that the competition might just lead to an abundance of game launchers that will clog up their systems. Number 8. Bullet sponge mechanics.
Yep.
Matt, I need your help.
Depending on who you talk to, there were two camps of people when it came to the Division's shooting mechanics. Those who hated how spongy the enemies were, and those who looked past it for the greater good of the game. Though, the game's bullet sponge mechanics were highly criticized overall. Just ask Google.
Got him.
Luckily, both Massive and Ubisoft heard the criticism and decided to make the enemies in The Division 2 slightly more realistic. Slightly, in that it's still going to take more bullets to kill enemies than it would in more realistic shooting games. But the improvement over the first game should be clearly noticeable.
Keep going.
Good job.
Number 7. Dark Zones are back.
So our group here is going to really have to work together using their weapons and skills to take them out. Of course, they drop much better loot and give a lot higher experience.
In The Division, Dark Zones were challenging areas filled with rare loot and other goodies. They were also packed with high-level AI enemies as well as online players. So, your odds of walking into these zones and returning with said loot were pretty low, but the risk-reward is what made the Dark Zones so fun to play.
Oh, here we see that the extracting team actually got the jump on our group, and Bronson's been quickly down.
Well, thankfully, these areas are back in the second game and will be available to loot, plunder, and pillage on day 1. If you're good enough to survive the onslaught of enemy bullets, that is. Our advice? Start playing The Division again and get good before March 15th.
Package secured. Lead on RTB.
Number 6. Continues the storyline.
Examples will be made.
As mentioned, The Division 2 picks up 7 months after the first game ends, so it'll be summertime as we roam our way through an infected Washington, D.C., as a yet unknown virus has brought the city to its knees.
On your knees. Keep still.
Furthermore, a civil war has broken out amongst the survivors of the virus, with multiple factions looking to secure citywide power. It's into this mess that we're interjected as a veteran Division agent. While there's not much more known about the storyline at the moment, this all sounds pretty badass, and has us jacked to jump back into the world of the Division for some more epic gunplay. Number 5. dynamic environments, and NPCs. The first game was set in an open world, but there wasn't a whole lot of interaction within said world with the environments, factions, or civilians. But that's all about to change in The Division 2.
Here's the door.
Do we know how exactly? Well, no, not really, but we're guessing based on new leaks and keywords that the world will be more alive and that civilian NPCs will have an increased role, helping influence the world around you, and that the environment itself will also change according to these actions. This isn't much of a guess, considering that large AAA titles are increasingly heading toward more interactive worlds, but it's still nice to know that the open world won't be so flat this time around.
Let me see if I can get this. Oh, that'll come in handy.
Number 4. 8-person raids.
Get that weak point.
Oh crap, Matt, watch out!
Seeing as the first Division game was criticized for its lack of endgame content, Ubisoft has gone all out this time around to make sure this doesn't happen again. One of the features that will help give life to the game after the main campaign is finished is 8-person raids, which the company claims to be the ultimate way of playing The Division 2, combining the best gameplay mechanics into one definitive experience.
Complete Division agent is down.
This feature won't be available until the endgame, however, because it'll require the best players and the best gear to succeed. Sounds challenging. We're in.
Vitals are critical. Emergency procedures required.
Number 3. More options for character customization.
Giving the option to the player of going deeper into a playstyle and choosing exactly how they want to play.
Ubisoft promises better player customization this time around, claiming The Division 2 will have a more personalized feel to it. One such example is cosmetic items that can be worn by players only after completing certain in-game achievements and accomplishments.
Whoa, that's nuts.
Consider these items to be, on the one hand, a fashion statement, and on the other, a subtle way of bragging to your friends who's the better shot. Also, there will be more clothing options available this time around. But perhaps the most important are the endgame specializations that will take characters down one of 3 playstyles: Survivalist, armed with a crossbow; Sharpshooter, equipped with a sniper rifle; and Demolitionist, readied with a grenade launcher. Number 2. Free post-release content.
When you're playing the raid as a full 8-man team, that variety of different specializations, but also the different builds is going to be, of course, important. Yeah.
One of the things that saved The Division's lack of launch-ready content in empty endgame was DLC packs that offered new game modes. The second game will also release post-launch DLC packs, and the kicker is that they're free this time around. This free content will come in the form of maps, missions, items, features, and story updates for a full year after launch. That's pretty generous, seeing as how Ubisoft is already packing so much into this game for its day one release. It's clear to us that they mean to make The Division 2 a top contender in the online multiplayer world, and that they are learning from other games' launch mistakes, namely Destiny 2.
When the game sings, it's when you're playing with other players who know what they're doing and you can strategize.
Number 1. More endgame. You wanted it, and you got it. The single biggest complaint about the first game has been addressed, so The Division 2 will have a much more fleshed out endgame with more content and options available for not only co-op players, but solo gamers as well. Though there's obviously more endgame content for co-op players.
Taking that control point out of action is going to make a huge difference for the settlement. They needed this.
Once you hit the level cap, the game is far from over, seeing as players will be rewarded with specialization, the opportunity to take part in raids, continual progression systems, and plot twists. In fact, it looks like some of the more exciting things in The Division 2 will only happen after the game is technically finished, and that's very exciting news.
So you guys are coming, or what? Yeah.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.